Welcome everybody to this special coronavirus edition of the DiegoCast. As always, we like to get right into things because I only got 20 minutes here with you guys. We keep it nice and short. But I want to let you guys know I've come prepared. I have with me gold. This is like gold these days, finding some toilet paper. So yes, I'm here bragging that I have it, but also I want to let you know that I'm going to protect myself. You are not going to get your hands on my toilet paper, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm not going to let you take it. You know what I'm saying? I come prepared to defend my toilet paper. Now, it is an absolute crazy time. I don't have to tell you guys that. Crazy things are going on, and I want to get right into the meat of the matter. As you guys know, this is a live broadcast. If you want to communicate with me, you can do so at the end of the broadcast by typing your messages right here beneath me. I've got a laptop right in front of me that brings up all of your messages, or you can send a text message to the number above. I don't even remember what it is, and that will come up on this phone. Works on iMessage or even WhatsApp for all of you foreigners out there. So let's get right into this. Go ahead and bring up my presentation, and what we're going to be talking about here today is how you guys can, here we go, boom, the coronavirus edition, how you guys can make money off of the coronavirus. And you guys already know what we're going to talk about here today, but I'm not talking about how you guys can actually make money off of the virus itself. Obviously, I think you guys get that, and that was already part of the email message, but what we're talking about is how you guys can take advantage of the current situation that's been brought on by the coronavirus, okay? So that is very specific what we're talking about. You can't actually make money off the virus, but what we're experiencing right now, it is unprecedented. That is true. But on the same token, it is basically a crisis of sorts. And crises happen all the time throughout history. So we have got already historical precedent for what to look to in terms of what we can expect during this crisis right now. And because I study a lot in regards to history and the history of business, there's so many things that are repeating themselves over and over again that I'm seeing right before my very eyes, even though what we're experiencing right now is new. The telltale signs of what's coming is repeating themselves right in front of our eyes. And I want to share them with you guys so you guys can get ahead of the curve and literally profit off of this situation, even though it's really crazy. Now, first things first, you guys. Let me just get a couple things out of the way really quick, because I do not want to get into my feelings about the coronavirus and my feelings about what's going on right now, because that's a whole nother subject and we'll go down that path and we won't come back out of that rabbit hole. So let me just get a couple things out of the way to lay the foundation for what we're going to talk about. And first of all, yes, I do believe that there really is a coronavirus. I don't think that it's a hoax. I think it really does exist. And I do think it's contagious. And yes, I do think that people are going to die. And that's terrible. That's awful. It's extremely sad, and we don't want to play that down, all right? However, I likewise don't believe that the fallout, or whatever you want to call it, meaning the people who contract this disease and actually die, I don't think it's going to be worse than other viruses. Things, like the regular flu, or, in the last 10 years, we had swine flu, we had the bird flu, H1N1, all the rest of this kind of stuff. These are all deadly diseases as well, and I don't think this is necessarily going to be any worse. I could be wrong about that, but I hope not. But the most important thing, I think, for everybody right now, obviously, is for us to stay healthy. We don't want to get sick. But the second most important thing is for everybody to stay economically sound. And I don't just want you to stay economically sound. I want you to thrive. So we got the first things first out of the way. Now let's get with the second things second, all right? So that's the first part we need to establish. But now I want to get right into what we're going to talk about today. And the first thing is this, guys. We talk about second things second. Don't be an idiot, okay? Please don't be an idiot, because, like I said, I didn't want to talk about this, but it's completely insane what's going on out there right now. Last night, we went out to have dinner, my wife and I. In fact, bring up the picture of dinner. Here's what a typical packed restaurant looked like last night on St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day, people go out. Now, understand this. This restaurant's busy all the time, but St. Patrick's Day should be busy even more so because, people need an excuse to go out and get drunk. And so that's what St. Patrick's Day is for. There's nobody there. So we're like, well, there's nobody out. What should we do? I said, I know, let's play a game. Let's see how many stores we're going to stop at before we finally find a roll of toilet paper. Well, we just went across the street to Wally World and bring up the picture of Wally World. And I thought that this was already over. This is just last night. But that's where toilet paper used to be. And I'm like, this is just so dumb. In fact, I saw this little video that I thought was hilarious. It kind of describes exactly the way people are reacting right now. It takes like 3 seconds or 5 seconds. Play that video. It's hilarious. So it's funny, right? So anyhow, here's my point, guys. Don't be an idiot and fall into all the rest of this nonsense. You need to do everything you would normally do to stay healthy, like eating right, staying away from sick people or sick places and things like that. Get good sleep, take vitamins, all that kind of stuff. Be active. All the typical stuff that you would typically do just to be healthy and to avoid any other disease, all right? So do those things. And don't follow conventional wisdom. Go ahead and bring back up my presentation here. So what everybody is freaking out about and panicking about, you don't want to be a lemming and follow the crowd. You guys know that stuff. Don't panic. And, toilet paper, come on, people. I'm not going to go down that path. I'm just not going to go down that path, all right? But I will say this. Like I said, I didn't want to talk about it, but I'm going to say this because everything that I'm about to talk about here in the next 15 minutes all has to do with the fact that we're going to go through a recession. And the reason we're going to go through a recession, in my view, is not because of a disease, but it's because of the world's reaction to this disease. Now, there are real diseases like the bubonic plague, the Black Plague in Europe hundreds of years ago that literally wiped out almost a whole continent. I mean, it was like the deadliest thing that ever happened, killed, 200 or 300 million people. I don't remember what it is. You can look it up. But this is not that. This, yes, is a pandemic and what they're calling it, whatnot. But I do have to say this because I got to get this off my chest. And that is like, have you guys ever seen that movie, that Pixar movie called Inside Out? And it's got like all those little characters who represent different emotions that are like stuck in the little girl's head and they kind of like control her and stuff like that. Well, I've got this guy in my head and we're going to call him Mr. Birch, okay? And this is Mr. Birch right here. This is the tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. And Mr. Birch is alive and well in my head. Okay? You can bring it back to me. Typically, though, I kind of keep Mr. Birch like subdued and suppressed. But every now and again, something happens and he pops up and I kind of got to keep him under control. But he's there. He lives up here. You know what I'm saying? And I got to tell you, Mr. Birch has been going completely insane for the last 2 weeks. And I'm having a hard time keeping this guy down. You know what I'm saying? He's been going absolutely nuts, and I can't shut him down like I normally do, but I'm not going to let him loose in this webcast. I just want to let you know that too much crap doesn't add up. You can bring back up my presentation. Too much stuff just doesn't make sense, and it's all completely insane, but we're not going to go down that path. Maybe we can have a separate webcast altogether for me to let you guys know what Mr. Birch is saying, but I'm going to tell you right now, it will not be for the faint at heart. But anyhow, he is going completely insane. And what's ending up happening because of this, whether we like it or not, is there's a recession coming. We're going to have a recession. Don't panic. Recessions happen basically all the time. And we're going to go through one right now as a result of this coronavirus and the situation at hand. And so let me just describe what a recession actually is, and I'm going to show you how you guys can get ahead of the curve, okay? So now remember, the coronavirus didn't actually cause a recession. It's just people's reactions to it. And people's actions and reactions are a consequence of their beliefs. So if we can all be herded together to believe all the same thing, these kind of things can be caused. And it's going to happen whether we like it or not. Now, generally speaking, here's what a recession is. When GDP, which is the gross domestic product for any nation, when it goes backwards, so in other words, instead of the output, the economic output of a country growing, if it goes down, that is the start of recession. If it happens for 2 consecutive quarters, we generally call that a recession. All right. So you hear this term thrown around a lot, particularly in politics. People want to, throw somebody under the bus, whatnot. Well, even in Obama's worst year, in terms of the economic conditions that we had, our GDP went backward 2.5% in his worst year. Now, and these numbers were very hard to ascertain perfectly. So, I was doing a lot of research trying to get these exact numbers, but they're really hard to ascertain because of the way they're delivered and all the politics involved. But it doesn't matter, because I just need to make a very important point here. In that worst year, when the GDP went backward 2.5%, our economy, our GDP at the time, was about $15 trillion. It's a number we can't even imagine, but that's what it's about. That's the economic output of all of us put together here in this country. That's what we're churning out. It's, we're the envy of the world, and it's just unbelievable that we churn that out. So when it went backwards, that setback was about $37.5 billion. And that sounds like a big number, but compared to 15 trillion, it's absolutely nothing, okay? So what that means is, in that time, the people who were complaining and whining about the recession, which we had and was real, you had a choice. You could either focus on the 37.5 billion of economic activity that legitimately disappeared. That means that was just gone. You could blame it on Obama. You could blame it on Republicans. You could blame it on Democrats. You could blame it on your mom. You could blame it on whatever. It doesn't matter. But you could blame and put your focus on that. Or you could focus on the fact that there's still $14.625 freaking trillion in that economic activity. And then you go get your piece of that pie. See, that's the key. And just so you know, this is what that number looks like, by the way. Oh, by the way, it's a freaking huge, huge number. It's a number so big, you literally can't even wrap your head around it. So I want you to understand that people were crying and whining during that time. So, it's such a bad economy. Oh, we can't move forward. When that's how much economic output was. We still had an economy that big. So it's not like, it's not like toilet paper was not available on the shelves or bottled water and stuff like that. There was still a huge economy, but yes, it went backward. And then, of course, it recovered. These are cycles. These things happen all the time. So let me give you a quick history lesson so I can show you how to make money off the coronavirus. Understand the United States has faced many recessions over the years. This is nothing new. These things are cyclical. We all know that. But what I want you to recognize is, if you study the history of business and you study these up and down cycles, one thing that we learn that is remarkable, because it's counterintuitive, is that there are more millionaires that are minted during times of economic contraction than at any other time in the history of our country. In other words, when recessions happen, more millionaires are made during the recession than in any other time. In fact, much more specifically than in boom times. You say, well, that doesn't make any sense, Diego. It doesn't make any sense up front, but when you think about it, it makes total sense. And here's why. Because when things are jamming and when the economy is kicking and we're growing and growing and everything's great, anybody can stay afloat during those times of economic prosperity. You guys have heard me say this before. If you've been around any of my events or gone through any of my teachings regarding business, we say even a dead fish can float downstream, or like the Mexican brothers say, even caca flows downhill. It means you can suck, and in a good economy, you could still be moving. So that's the whole point, is when the things are moving, anybody can make it just because you exist. But here's what happens. When things start to unravel a little bit or just go backwards 2.5%, and it doesn't even take 2.5%, by the way, but if they just go backwards a little bit, a fraction of a percent, what happens is panicky people, they make bad decisions, and then that causes this domino effect, and it sends you into this downward spiral, and it ultimately causes businesses to shut down. Like right now, just imagine just the tourism industry and how it's been hit so hard, and how many people are going to be laid off over the next couple of weeks and months because they're making bad decisions. And these people, when the economy recovers, all these businesses are going to have to hire they're going to have to go on hiring sprees in 3 to 6 months. Maybe longer. Nobody knows. And that's the point. We don't know. We can't make, we can't prognosticate specifically. But as business owners, you do have to consider the future, and you do have to make your own predictions, and you have to make decisions based on what you're predicting is going to happen. And the best way to make predictions is to use history as your source, okay? So what's going on right now when this happens, we call this in business a temporary market aberration. Meaning what's going on right now is not normal. It shouldn't happen, but it's happening for the reasons that we know. Now, the thing about market aberrations is this: they're always temporary. They don't last. They always fix themselves in times. And there's a lot of weird things going on right now that shouldn't happen. Like the stock market dropping into the toilet, and then the next day, having the greatest gains it ever had, and then the next day dropping in the toilet, is the worst dropped since 1987. The next day, the greatest. That's not normal. Okay, stocks shouldn't do that because giant companies and all these companies you're investing in the stock market aren't losing money tomorrow and then gaining money the next day. They're like huge aircraft carriers. You can't turn them on a dime. The stock market can do a lot of stuff, but it's a temporary market aberration. It will correct itself. There's all types of weird things going on. I mean, I can show you right here on my phone. The Mexican peso has dropped to 24 pesos per dollar, which is outrageous. It's like a 25% drop in 45 days. If it gets to 25, I'm out of here, man. I'm going scuba diving. I'll meet you in Cozumel. But anyhow, the point is, these are temporary market aberrations. And here's the thing. Even though these things are temporary, if you make bad decisions during a temporary market aberration, they can go on with you forever. And you don't want that. So here's what happens. Whoever lasts the longest during a market aberration stands to absorb all of the market share of those who fall or fail during that temporary aberration. This always happens. Imagine 10 pizza shops. You got 10 pizza shops and there's a coronavirus scare or there's 9/11. Something happens and everybody panics. And so because everybody panics, all of the sudden, 2 or 3 of those pizza shops go out of business. So there's 10 of them and now there's only 7. But even though there's 10, there used to be 10 and now there's only 7, there's still a market for 9 plus. So at least 9 could exist, but 3 made bad decisions. So guess what happens? One of those dudes, one of those 7, is going to absorb the market share of those other 3 that went out of business. And then in 6 to 12 months, the market will resume to be where it once was, and then they're going to pick up that extra business, their market share as well. And because they took advantage of the temporary market aberration, they were just doing business as one business, and now they have the market share of 4 businesses. This is what happens, and this is how millionaires are minted during these times, because the recessions that we always hit are very small percentage-wise, but people react without logic, without sensibility, and they don't use math. Let me give you guys a really, really, really important tip. The greatest science of all time is math because there's no emotions involved. So when you're confused, when you're scared, use math. Take out a calculator because nothing will help you more than math and then a calculator to make good decisions. So that's exactly what happens is these people end up with more market share than they ever had before. So now that's the foundation I need to give you. In the next few minutes, let me tell you how you can take advantage of the current market aberration so that you can profit now and going forward for the long term. Here's what you need to do. I'm going to do this very quickly, okay? Number 1, obviously don't panic, because the point here is if you're panicky, you're going to make bad decisions. And bad decisions is what I just described, is what causes people to lose. So what you need to do is you need to position yourself to win, like the famous quote from Wayne Gretzky. You guys all know what Wayne Gretzky said, right? He said, he skates to where the puck is going to be and not to where it has been. That's what you need to do right now. You need to position yourself so that you're going to win, just like Wayne Gretzky, meaning you know where the marketplace is going to be 6 to 12 months from now. We don't know where it's going to be next week. We don't know where it's going to be next month. We really don't even know where it's going to be 3 to 6 months from now. But we know 6 to 12 months from now where it's going to be because it's always the same. There's going to be toilet paper again, people. It's going to happen. Business is going to resume. Tourism is going to start up again. Live events will happen all over again. The NBA will start up again. God bless America. Messi will start scoring goals again in La Liga. All these things are going to go back to normal. And this temporary market aberration, we're going to look back and think, what the heck was that? And we're going to look back much like 9/11. In fact, if all the research I've done in the last couple of weeks, what I can tell you is the closest example we have to what we're going through right now is 9/11. And if you remember what 9/11 was like, it was caused by an external force, meaning the economy didn't fail on itself, but something external caused fear in the marketplace, fear and panic. People weren't buying things. People weren't traveling. In that case, though, there was something very legitimate to worry about, like people wanting to blow us up. Right now, I don't see it as being as dangerous. But the point is people's reaction are causing the same thing. Well, tell me, what happened after 9/11? You guys remember. You lived through it. How long did it take before, George Bush was out there telling people to go out and go shopping. People, let's get back to normalcy, because he recognized and the government recognized we need economic activity. Otherwise, we're going to have a serious economic crisis here. So the point is, you have the opportunity to profit from all of this if and only if you position yourself to take advantage of these coming opportunities. Because history repeats itself. I heard one guy say, well, history doesn't always repeat itself, but it often rhymes. Okay, that's kind of a cute little saying. That's fine. My point is this. If you want to know what's going to happen during this crisis, you look at previous crisis. And like I said, September 11th is very, 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 very similar. Now, here's what I want you guys to take note of and to remind yourself of is this. What was the result of all after the consternation, anxiety, fear, and all this stuff that caused people to react without sensibility, what then happened? And I know I'm 1 minute over time, but I might have to go another 3 or 4 minutes. You guys will survive because this is a special coronavirus edition. Well, you need to take some action steps because it is all about positioning yourself to take advantage of these market aberrations in the marketplace. I'm going to give you some very specific examples how to do so because this is exactly what happened after 9/11. And a lot of people made a whole lot of money after 9/11, and there's a lot of people who made some brand new decisions. One of the things that happened was I'll get to it in just a second. First action step is this, ladies and gentlemen, to profit off the coronavirus scare, epidemic, whatever you want to call it, the situation we're currently in. Do not stop doing what you're doing. Don't go back and say, I'm going to wait and see what happens. I'm not going to make sales calls. I'm not going to hire people. I'm not going to go on. If you stop, you lose. And here's the thing. This is the perfect opportunity, particularly if you are in a competitive marketplace. Some of you guys are in very competitive marketplaces out there. There's a lot of different people who are listening to us today. Some people are getting started. Some of you guys are already running multiple 8-figure businesses. So it doesn't matter if you're just getting started or if you got a huge business with 1,000 employees. Whatever you're doing to keep your business going right now, do not stop. In fact, do the opposite, ante up. If you're advertising, advertise more. If you're pushing your sales force, push more, hire more salespeople. Do the exact opposite of conventional wisdom because you will be the only ones doing it, meaning you'll soak up all of the market share in this opportunity and you probably won't get this opportunity again. Now, probably not soon anyways. Number 2, make sure everything you're doing, you're focusing on hot buttons. Now, this is key number 1 in all business. You guys know that I teach this and preach this over and over and over again to all of our customers and clients all the time. You need to focus on what people actually care about. But right now, more than ever, when there's a time of crises, you need to absolutely fix your sales processes and fix your marketing messaging to ensure that everything that comes out of your mouth and everything you're doing is all hot button based. Because right now, it's kind of like Sweet Brown. Ain't nobody got time for that. If you're talking about anything other than what they care about, they ain't got no time for that. Because right now, people are very focused and they're being driven like cattle to think a certain way. So you only are going to be able to really capture their attention by things that they actually care about. Take advantage of this chance right now to focus on hot buttons. And then be entrepreneurial. Here's something that's very remarkable that I learned and saw after 9/11, and that was this. There was this huge uptick and a huge explosion in entrepreneurship after 9/11, and here's why. Because people were getting fired, and they were getting fired for no fault of their own, and the economy was going backwards, and they realized, I don't want my future in the hands of somebody else. I want my future in my own hands. And so what happened is, afterwards, people started starting businesses. They started looking for business opportunities. It was something huge that happened. And so most of you guys are already in business. But what that means is this. You are now going to be faced with a whole bunch of more entrepreneurs in America. That's great. Position yourselves to serve that new wave of coming entrepreneurs and remind yourself how to think like an entrepreneur. Because if you've been in business 5, 10, 15, 20 years, there's a reality that some of the drive and the motivation of why you became an entrepreneur in the first place, you lose it. You lose it. You forget that excitement. You forget that zeal. You know, it happens, it's just like any relationship. If you start a relationship and the initial part of the relationship, you're all excited about it. And if you're not careful, over time, it just becomes commonplace. We don't want that to happen to you here. Focus on being entrepreneurial again and prepare yourself for this new wave of entrepreneurs that are coming. Next, I got 2 more things to say and we'll wrap this up, all right? And I'll take some questions because it's the special coronavirus edition. I want you guys to be smart. And by that, I mean this. Focus on the people who have money and not the people who don't. Okay, I'll give you an example. Who's getting killed right now? The tourism industry. The tourism industry is getting killed. So if you are in business and you're in a business that serves the tourism industry, pivot. Pivot to another industry that has money. Or work with people in that industry who have money, who need to take advantage of the opportunity in that time. But it just makes more sense to pivot to something else. I'll give you a perfect example. Even in my own company, we have, I was preparing my own company to do all throughout 2021 and the rest of this year, a whole lot of live events. And in a business partnership I have with one of our members of our network as well, we also have a business model where we have live events every single month. Well, had to cancel all those. Everybody who's in live event business right now, it's over. It's done. So you have to pivot. So instead of trying to force that thing done that you want done, change, make an adjustment. Serve the people who have money. If you go out there and try to serve the $37.5 billion people, meaning the people who are getting cut out of the economy right now, you're going to be in the same boat. You're going to be like, oh, there's no money out there. Nobody has any money. And it's pure BS. There's so much money, what are you going to do with it? But you didn't take a smart action step, and you didn't say, who is it who has money right now, and who is it who doesn't? Those who don't try to serve them. Go after the people you know are going to have money and have money right now, all right? So we can go through a list of all who those people are, but it's very commonsensical, and I'm running out of time. All right, 2 more things. Number 1, habits. Look, in this time, people tend to, cinch up their belt, and they do things like save money, and they refine their processes and stuff like that. It's great. Circumstances like this force us to create new habits that are typically good habits. So create them, maintain them, and keep them going. That will serve your business long term. And the last 2 things is this. Be contrarian. In other words, don't do what everybody else is doing. If you see everybody's doing this, don't do it. In business, do not do what everybody does. Here's a great quote. It says this: the most successful people in life don't watch the news because they are the news. And that's what I want you guys to be. Make yourself the news in your industry. Be number 1. And you're going to do that by doing the opposite of what everybody else is doing. And that brings me to the very last point, which is this. In short, to sum up everything I just said, I could say it this way: be the best and be the last. And what do I mean by that? I mean, be the last man standing. First, be the very best at whatever it is you do and whatever you offer. And number 2, be the last man standing. Because when you are the best and you're also the last, meaning you don't go down, you don't fall, you don't fail because you didn't panic and you got yourself positioned, you just absorb all that market share. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, money fills vacuums. When people have money, they want to spend it. Businesses want to spend money. People don't like going any period of time without spending money. So if you're the last man standing, they are going to do business with you. You're going to absorb more market share in this time. And here's the key. When you do that, you get yourself settled in and you become, particularly if you're in a contract-based industry, oh my goodness, the contracts that you could write right now are incredible. Just remember, people are staying home. People are self-quarantining, all that kind of stuff. Fine. If they're doing that, and if you're in an industry where it's bad manners for you to knock on their door and try to sell them something, then don't. But for the most part, most industries are not that way. You can talk to people. You can communicate with them. Take advantage of the fact that the coronavirus is happening and call people. Send emails. Make follow-up calls. Walk in on a follow-up call. Here's a great sales tip for you. Take a roll of toilet paper and some hand sanitizer and walk into somebody that you used to, and I'm not kidding about this, walk into someone who's a great prospect and say, I'm here bearing gifts, ladies and gentlemen. I have been tested and proven to be coronavirus free, and I want to make sure you all have what you need to get through this crisis. It's a great icebreaker. People will laugh. Go around and be the guy who passes out toilet paper. That could be a multi-million-dollar intro for your company coming up. My point is, do whatever it takes to not have an excuse to not go out and say, oh, I can't go out there and I can't knock on doors and I can't go out there and I can't send out my sales force. I can't go out there and I can't build my business because nobody is responding right now. That's BS. But if you let that into your mind, you're going to artificially limit yourself. And here's the point. Whatever happens right now during this time, and however you take advantage of it right now in this time, it's going to go on forever. And people are more apt right now to hear your message, to hear your story, and to receive your sales pitch right now than at any other time, because you are going to have a greater captive audience right now, since people are sitting back not really quote unquote, doing anything, worrying about the future. So when it comes to hot buttons, again, if people are worrying about the future, step in and provide them a solution. You step in, you provide them a solution, and during this time of crises, you become the go-to company for whatever your product or service is that you're offering to the marketplace that you serve, and you absorb a greater portion of the marketplace and market share because nobody else is doing it. When I say nobody, I don't mean nobody, but I mean fewer. And that's the point. History repeats itself. This is not the first time. This happened in the late 2000s. It happened after 9/11. It happened in the early 90s. It happened in the late 80s. It happened in 1984. It happened in the mid 70s. It happened in the late 70s. For those of you guys who remember the crisis then with oil and the hostage situation, these things are cyclical. They happen 2 or 3 times every single decade, and every time the results are always the same. So I want you guys to be the ones. I want us, you and us, everybody here. I want you guys to be the newly minted millionaires in the next, 1 to 2 years, because you took advantage of this opportunity that's right here, right in front of us. So my time is up, ladies and gentlemen. We went 10 minutes longer on the DiegoCast today because it's the special coronavirus edition, and we had to. So here's what I'm going to do. I don't have time for Q&A because we went over time, but I will do what I did last time, and I will stay on the chat, and I'll stay here for the next 10, 15, 20 minutes, however long you guys need in order to answer all your questions. But that's it. We are going to wrap it up. Hope you guys have a great day. Also, I was going to say that you can get the replay of this as soon as it's over. YouTube takes, 5 to 10 minutes for them to process it, and it'll be available for you guys right here to watch all over again. So, ladies and gentlemen, go out there, crush it. We're looking forward to all your coronavirus successes. Take care. God bless you. Stay healthy. Get rest. Keep your immune system strong. And we'll catch you during the next DiegoCast. Take care. Godspeed.